For my next video, filmed on the 5th of December, I'm a month ahead of myself, we'll call this one axes. Now, these are three types of axes. The one with the black handle is my hatchet. This is a splitting maul, or just I call them a maul. This is an axe. Okay, you'll notice the swing handle of the axe and my hatchet. This is a straight handle on the maul. Okay, and you notice that they have a single cutting edge. They're called single-bitted axes. In the days when trees were felled by axe power, well, trees were never felled by axes. There were axes, chopped notches, eliminated limbs, branches. That's a logger's term for tree branches, limbs. They'd have double-bitted, one so sharp you could shave with it, just razor sharp. The other one sharp but stubbed off for chopping the branches. The really sharp edge would be used for cutting the material of the tree itself. This is actually a sledgehammer handle, and handles on most axes are interchangeable. You break one, you get another one. Although this is a composite handle, so it's not supposed to break. We'll see. You'll notice the angle of the cutting edge is much steeper on the splitting maul than on the axe or my hatchet, and that's a function of what it's used for. The splitting maul is used for splitting wood, splitting things in half, so it's more akin to a wedge, whereas the axes, my hatchet with the black handle and my axe, they have a much more tapered edge, much sharper cut. They're much sharper axes. You can also see from our wood pile that we need some more wood. This is cedar wood, by the way. Selection of your axe is a good idea. Because it has such a short handle, you're not going to do any meaningful cutting with the hatchet. It's more for more detailed work, and because of the angle on the cutting edge, you're not going to get much out of the splitting maul other than splitting wood. The axe, especially with all the power that can be generated from a single cutting edge, is a much more utilitarian tool. In the old days, before the advent of the chainsaw and trees were felled using axes, saws, wedges, and all the rest, the axe would be used for clearing the limbs and chopping a notch for the saw, and the saw would be used to cut through the entire tree. Especially on a big tree, considering that saws were very rarely more than 10 feet long, usually around 6 feet long, you would have to chop notches in the sides of the tree to get quite it's called a throw or a sweep for the saw itself. And for that you'd use a single-bitted axe, a double-bitted axe. Again, one with one edge akin to the splitting maul or the axe, kind of stubbed off for branches, brush, whatever, and a much sharper edge akin to the hatchet or the axe, or even sharper, for use on the material of the tree itself. And then you would go to work with the saw. You would cut a notch. Someone who cut down trees was called a faller, and a good faller could determine exactly where the tree was going to go. Sometimes you'd put a stone or a wedge in the cut itself to make the tree jump off of the stump, and you'd use springboards to get above the swell butt of the tree. Especially at the coast, where trees grew very fast, down around Vancouver, Oregon, Seattle, that kind of place. Trees would grow very fast, and the bottom of the tree, right where it entered the ground, would swell out because a tree weighs a lot. They estimate that some of the big redwoods in Northern California weigh upwards towards 2,000 tons or more. So you'd use a springboard to get 10, 12 feet above the ground, and you'd chop and saw from there. And a good faller would balance on the springboard.